friends, welcome to Embracing Your Season. I'm your host, Paige Klingenpeel. We're just so thankful that you're joining us here today. Now, as a reminder, you can listen to this show on all major podcast platforms. And if you happen to listen on Apple Podcasts, which is the one that I love to listen to all my podcasts on, we would so appreciate a review, a star, a follow, so that you never miss an episode. We release new episodes every Tuesday, so make sure you check that out. I would love to introduce to you my guest today. Her name is Tricia Thornton. She is a licensed professional counselor, so shout out to my fellow therapists. Also, a registered play therapist. Now, friends, if you are not familiar with play therapy, I am telling you, it is amazing. I'm not registered, I'm not certified, but I have great respect for those that navigate the world of therapy with children. And play therapy is one of those cool things. I would love for you to learn more about that as well. And maybe we'll dig into that in our conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to introduce to you a new book that Miss Tricia has written. It is a phenomenal book called Beyond Blessed Parenting. Embrace these 7 principles and experience authentic connection. I mean, that just set it up. The bar is set high for this conversation. You're going to walk away with 7 principles that are going to transform your parenting life. And so, friends, I would love for you to check her out. You can find out all her information on our show notes, but it is triciathornton.com. Now, make sure you stay tuned to after the conversation for some of my takeaways that I would love to garner for the conversation that I have with Tricia. So join me now on this edition of Embracing Your Season with my lovely guest, Tricia Thornton. Tricia, we are so excited that you're here today. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Well, first off, let's celebrate the fact you're a therapist and you're a play therapist. For the audience, I understand the difference, but help the audience understand how there is a difference in the type of therapy that you offer.
Yeah. So I just came from a play therapy session right before. So yes, I was on the floor playing with kinetic sand and playing in my dollhouse.
Yes. Yep.
So children at this developmental stage, really up through late elementary, even through middle school, play is their natural language. So when you're really trying to reach a child and be able to help them express their inner world, and they can do it through what's natural to them, which is play, then they're going to feel a lot more trusting. It's going to be safer and easier for them to open up. And we're really able to tap into kind of that right side of their brain that's going to help connect their head and the heart.
Oh gosh, and I love that. I know for me personally, my specialty or niche area is anybody above the age of 12, because under that, like I'm more of that cognitive, let's process, let's build relationships in that regard. Whereas underneath that, like there's so much that goes into play therapy, and people, as you said, you were on the ground playing in dollhouses and you were using the sand. It is so much deeper than just quote unquote playing. Like we see so much that comes out of kiddos when they use this way to basically go through maybe trauma or experiences or stress. And so you have to go additional training in order to get that. Is that correct?
Yes. So this was a certification extra training that can last up for over a year and a half. And so I'm an LPC, so licensed professional counselor, which I can counsel anything, any age, up through, really any children I could counsel children without being an RPT, but man, what I gained through my training, it's kind of unmatched. And
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful that I was able to do it. And if people are curious, they can go to the American Play Therapy Association, and that will help them be able to figure out kind of the route and look at what's required.
Yeah, love that. And all the listeners out there as well, just be mindful that if you have a kiddo and talk therapy isn't necessarily the one that's working with them, I would love for you to check out Play Therapist. And you can ask that directly, call the sites. I love to go on, even just Google, where are local play therapists, because it is different and it is so much more helpful than asking a child some of those questions that they can't even articulate at some stages.
Right.
So
Right.
I would love to, connect you guys to those resources. But we're talking about parenting today and your new book, Beyond Blessed Parenting. Tell us a little bit about what was the catalyst behind writing this book.
Yeah, really, I didn't really feel like I had a choice not to write the book. I felt that there was such a need. So my first book is called Blessing from Fear. And after writing that was also full of parenting. But this book transitioned to be a lot more, it's even more relatable. And so I use 7 principles and 7 stories that are loosely based on my professional interactions with anybody, even in session, outside of session, people I've run into conferences and talks, people that is teachers and different interactions with different heads of schools, and kind of boil down to these 7 characters. And they range from age 32 to 72 in the book, and they each are kind of dealing with one of the 7 principles. And I felt like what parents are so searching for is solutions. But
Mm-hmm.
what I really, and I get asked this question all the time, like, what's the most important thing we can do to help our children? And it's really that we need to help ourselves as parents. And so
Oof, yeah.
parents, it's hard. It's really hard to be a parent right now. And I feel like we sometimes put aside our needs as parents and dive into our children. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I see that over and over in my office and that occurring, I felt like this book, that's why I didn't feel like I had a choice. I had to write it. I feel
Mm.
like there's such a need.
Well, and you're talking about like pouring into ourselves as
Mhm.
individuals and subsequently then we'll be able to pour out to our kiddos. But there's takes this level of like vulnerability of
Mhm.
recognizing that we need to pour into ourselves. And
Mhm.
you actually started the book talking about your own vulnerability. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about that.
Yeah. So that in my first book, I do a lot of talking about my story and overcoming fear. And so this book kind of continued some of those same themes. So every chapter, every part, every principle, I weave in how I struggle with that particular principle, why that's so hard for me personally, and give lots of examples. And then I relate it to neuroscience and a lot of
Mm,
what's happening in our brains
yeah.
neurologically and biologically, and then spiritually. So it's hard for me to write a book without having some vulnerability. I always will put myself and how I relate to this as a parent. I have 2 girls myself that are grown now, and I remember, I mean, I lived through these feelings that these parents that I describe in the book. Even to my 72-year-old grandmother that's in the book,
Hmm.
not my literal grandmother, but the grandmother character. I mean, I'm not there yet age-wise, but I can tell you that I relate to her as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mhm. Yeah, wow, so good. And that's stories transform lives. We see
Mhm.
that with Jesus, like he uses
Yeah,
parables.
uses her.
Stories transform lives. And there's something about sharing our own even about how that can be so powerful because there's empathy and there's sympathy and there's ways that we
Yeah,
can
and
connect our
I
stories with
want
other
parents
people.
to know that I've lived it. This is what I do. I live
Yeah.
the trenches every day in my office.
Mm,
I mean, I work with parents almost more than I even work with kids at this
yeah.
point. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
because I do a whole bunch of parent coaching. So, in fact, it's really hard for me it would be a rare case that I would see a child without seeing a guardian of some sort.
Mhm.
It would be really rare that I would agree to do that because that I come from a systems perspective, so it's hard for me to separate the 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand that we're all
Mhm.
connected and it all is interplaying. And we do have to recognize that we have to treat all of it as a whole. And what's
Mhm.
interesting, you were talking about just like you get it. My specialty is teenagers, and I was so good with counseling teenagers. And then I had my own. And I feel
Mhm.
like there are just moments I'm lost. Like today, for instance, just having a conversation with my senior, my daughter senior is moving to hopefully college next year and just talking about how can we help her be successful in that. But I'm also seeing some of those pitfalls. I'm seeing some of the choices that have consequences. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how could I have done better? How could I have prepared her more for success? And then I turn that internally and I'm thinking, well, my goodness, how would I have counseled someone else? And it's recognizing that we're not perfect. It's recognizing that we are growing too as parents. And that's a hard concept for us, is
Yeah.
it not?
Yeah, and we're triggered by everything our children do. There's nothing
Yes.
almost more triggering than having your own child kind of project that onto you, and then you
Mhm.
feel that, and it raises all of your nervous system. and alerts your nervous system to kind of
Mhm.
wake up to the freeze, fight, flight, fawn response. And then what do? So,
Yeah,
or not to
exactly.
be reactionary.
It sounds like you were there during the phone call post-conversation with the guidance counselor, because that's
Yes.
exactly what it was. I was in all of the modes. I was, like, fleeing to go to Starbucks to get my caffeine. I was
Mhm.
fighting because I was frustrated, and then
Mhm.
I was freezing at some points too, because then the Lord convicted me, like, "Nope, take a step back, you're fine." So, I had all of those within, like, a 10-minute period. It was
Yeah,
pretty
and the
fun.
fawn response, I don't know if you're as familiar, but the
Oh,
fawn
yeah.
response is that fourth one
Oh, I
where
don't
you were
fawn
trying to
well.
take care of everybody. You were probably even trying to take care of the guidance counselor, so
Yep, yep, that's so true. I did it all. That was
yeah,
really a
we
fun
all do.
experience.
Mhm, mhm,
So let's talk about faith a little bit. As I indicated, like
mhm.
there are just moments that the Lord comes alongside me and really guides well. But then there's also moments where I don't seek his wisdom first. I seek my own. And so where is that kind of balance of making sure that we are
Mm.
incorporating faith in our relationship with Jesus and our parenting?
I think I mean, it can look different for everybody. I don't think there's a script way of doing this, but I think having a site I talk about the, cross of connection in my book, and being able to rely on God first, however that looks for you. If that is you having a set quiet time in the morning, great. If that's you having a conversation with God all day, if that's you with worship, with reading scripture, whatever is going to be the catalyst for you to connect with God first and be able to feel comfortable to rely on that guidance. And then within yourself, and then with another parent or a community of believers or a community at large, a friend, and then your children. So it's a lot of connecting up here before we get to the kids.
Mhm.
But being able
Mhm.
to feel that trust, and that's where kind of forgiveness and embrace all comes into play, where we can just fully go and say, God, I need some help. I don't really know how to do this. I don't know where to go from this. And just being able to feel comfortable calling on to his name and saying, help me with this. I don't know what to do.
Mhm. Yeah. So I know,
Realize
and
it doesn't have anything to do with perfection.
yeah, ooh, isn't that hard though? It's because we value parenting so much. We want our kids to be successful. And so when we make mistakes that then co-align with potential consequences for our kids or even their own choices as a reflection of our parenting, it is very hard to navigate some of those things. So any
Absolutely.
thoughts into that?
Yes. So usually what I say is, what can you, in the spur of the moment, first of all, how do you recognize, like you were able to recognize within yourself all four of those responses. So, how can we pause? There's such a power in pausing. Can we pause and just recognize, name it, name, wow, I'm curious. Wow, why am I having such a big reaction? And even bringing God into that conversation and just kind of going, God, I wonder, well, what's that about? Just being curious, naming it, and then just doing that alone is going to reset your nervous system. So
Mhm.
you can then calmly, not with perfection, but in a connected way, because you've connected within yourself, then be able to connect with your child.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's oftentimes we don't know how to do that, whether
No,
it's just our
we don't.
family of origin or it's just our reactivity, our instant gratification, or need for instant
We're all of that
gratification.
together.
So, how can someone start practicing that?
Yeah, and know that it doesn't have to be some massive shift. It
Mhm.
just needs to be, whoa, I'm going to just pause for 3 seconds before I react. I often talk about using the five senses and really tapping into that because that's how our brain receives signals. So, if our brain neurologically receives signals through the five senses, then we know biologically it's going to work. So,
Mhm.
but we have to pause first to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And so usually I tell parents and kids, do the first three. Do the see, hear, touch. Those are quick, easy. You can always think of something that you see, hear, and touch. Just one thing for each if that's all you can think of in the spur of the moment. It will pause you before you open your mouth, before you give the huff and the puff or the eye roll. It will help.
Mm.
But it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy.
Right, right. But as you're also indicating is that it just takes practice, and the more
It
that you
takes
practice, it becomes
practice.
a rhythm. Mhm,
Absolutely, and our children are gonna model it from
mhm,
us. So they co-regulate off of us. So if we can give off that signal of safety to them, that we are even in the moment of feeling triggered, we're able to connect within, it will communicate to them, "Oh, I can do the same."
mhm. Yes.
You're just modeling that beautiful ability to be able to connect. Even if you lose it and you yell and you scream and you say the wrong thing with quotes, and I'm saying that, they still are gonna be able to circle back and go, "Ooh, you know what? Mom may have been able to handle that a little bit differently. Wow, this is how I was feeling in that moment. And so this is kind of maybe how I would repair." So parenting is all about rupture, repair, rupture, repair, rupture, repair. It's constant.
Yep, exactly. And that just
And
reminds
that's
us too.
life. I mean, that's
Right.
life.
It's the lack of perfection in that. It's
Yeah.
acknowledging that this is just going to be happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And also, I often encourage parents to sprinkle in little self care. Jesus went, typically in scripture, he went away
Mhm.
to reconnect within himself, with God and within. No, you may not be able to book a spa day. I mean, I don't know many of us that can, but you can go outside your office building and walk around 3 times. You
Mhm.
can go literally just put your face in the sunshine for 5 minutes. Even on a cloudy day, you can just reach up and stretch for 2 or 3 minutes. There's little sprinklings we can do. And if we
Mhm.
begin to incorporate those in small ways, we're going to feel a shift within our bodies.
Yeah, that's good. And the connection, as you're indicating, like it's a mind, body, and soul. We're created
Absolutely.
as a holistic being. And so we have to make sure that we're addressing all of those areas moving
Yes.
forward. So let's dig into the 7 principles.
Yep.
So it is silence, listening, acknowledge, renew, forgiveness, balance, and embrace.
Mhm.
Which of these do you think parents potentially even struggle with the most?
I think all, but I
I
mean,
know.
kind of, I
That's why
struggle
you
with
wrote the
all.
book.
I think all, but, I think silence and listening, I put those first very purposefully. I feel that you can jump around, and my little A-type personalities are never gonna jump around this book. They're gonna always go, in order. But I always tell people, if you can, start with silence. Just start with the little busy life of Sally is my first one. Start there, because if you can get a foundation of being able to feel comfortable with a little less noise, because it we're almost addicted to noise
Mhm.
and to
Right.
the rush and to the busy. So especially right now in kind of a busy transitional holiday season, whether it's holidays or just seasonal change, we are surrounded by noise. So if
Yeah.
we can just kind of have some moments of stillness, moments of silence, then we're going to be able to have our bodies in tune enough to be able to listen and start to embrace the other six of them.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's important too, as you were even saying, you were highlighting the fact that we are so overstimulated by our
Mhm.
environment. And because of that, I think we think that having a quote unquote quiet moment on our phone, scrolling through Facebook, that that is silence. But
Mhm.
it is not,
Mm-mm.
obviously. Can you explain the differentiation, even some of that brain science behind that?
Absolutely. So what that scrolling does is it will activate the neurotransmitter dopamine,
Hmm.
which makes us feel good. It's our feel good hormones. And so it activates those hormones that make us feel happy and peaceful and connected. But it's kind of false, because usually if you have a spike of dopamine, you're going to drop. And so the drop is going to feel really low and really down. And that's when the down occurs. It usually is right when your child says something or does something and you're kind of feeling dysregulated, and or they want your attention, but you've been on the phone. And so they're having kind of a meltdown. That's when we feel kind of this drop and this spike down. And so it's almost like coming off a caffeine push,
Right. Sugar, all
rush,
of
we
that.
just kind
Yep.
of a sugar
Mhm.
rush, yeah, and so what I usually encourage parents is as much as we sometimes need our phones, I think parents are almost more addicted to their devices because we're using them so much for work, and so are kids using them for school, but I think we're reliant on them. If you can force yourself for just minutes at a time and just kinda you know, I mean, great if you wanna have this whole week-long detox or day-long detox, but
Mhm.
if you can just sprinkle in little moments. So, for example, I will go take a 10-minute walk around my neighborhood, and I don't leave my phone because I do wanna have that for emergency or whatever, but I will not turn it on. I don't listen to music. I won't listen to podcasts. Podcasts, as much as I promote podcasts too, and I love being a part of podcasts, they can become noise fillers.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
have to have literally moments of silence where you can just hear the birds,
Mhm.
notice the rustling of the leaves, notice the squirrel running in. But silence sometimes is scary because it doesn't feel comfortable to us. And so if we are going through something really hard or having a trauma recovery, silence can be really hard because then we start to have a lot of big feelings. And
Yes.
having big feelings can be uncomfortable, and we typically don't like to feel uncomfortable. We like comfort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just thinking about myself in the last couple of weeks, we've, had some big events and I've had some really, important gatherings that I've had to prepare, like very detail oriented. My brain isn't naturally detail oriented. I'm very more big picture. And so the fact
Mhm.
I've had to be on my phone nonstop, connecting with people, making sure that everything's set up. And by the end of the night, I'm a reader. I love to just sit and read. I could not just sit and read. And I noticed my brain was
So
like,
keep
not only am I going to read, but
Mhm.
now I'm going to turn on the TV too and have that in the background. Oh, I need
'Cause
to
you
turn
had
on
to
my
keep the noise.
yes,
You had to
because of
keep
that
the noise. Yeah.
stimulant has constantly treated my brain as if I need more and more and more. So I took just the weekend. My Sabbath is Fridays. And so I take just Sabbath on Friday. I was just like,
Mhm.
I'm going to turn my phone off. I'm not
Mhm.
going to answer emails. I'm not even going to watch TV. I'm just going to sit. And instead of reading on my Kindle, which I oftentimes do, I'm going to read a real book where I
Real
have to
read it real quick. And if
tangibly
you
read
don't
it.
have the I mean, I love that you can do that, but there are a
Yeah.
lot that can't.
Oh,
So if they
right.
can't take a
Exactly.
full day, but you can sprinkle in 3 minutes, you can sprinkle
Yes.
in 5 minutes, and it just takes your brain getting used to it. How often do you hear from parents that when my child has had more time on their iPad or more time
Hmm.
on their device or more electronics or whatever, so they're harder to deal with after
Absolutely.
because they're
Irritability.
crashing off of it because that's the dopamine drop. And
Hmm.
so to me, we can't just eliminate technology.
Right.
It's here to stay. It's not the evil thing. It's just how can we use it in a way that's going to create some balance?
Hmm.
And we can, but it takes a lot of intention to do that.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk to those parents out there that might feel like they're failing or they're
Mhm.
not doing the best with some of these practices. Like, what's some encouragement you can give them?
You know what first came to my mind was why do we polarize right versus wrong so
It's
much?
good.
Like I think about with parents and often I hear them come in and they'll say, "I feel like I'm doing everything wrong." Or tell me the right thing to do, Trisha. What
Hmm.
can I do? And if you heard all that what that parent usually is wanting is doing. And so it's very foreign for me to it feels very uncomfortable for me to say, "You know what? I actually want you to do less. I want you to just
Wow.
be.
Yeah.
What can you do to actually just be?" And that involves silence
Hmm.
usually. So to encourage the person to, I don't think on this side of heaven, we're going to get it right. We're going to make mistakes. We are a product of that. We're not going to get it right. So
Hmm.
maybe if we go into parenting feeling like, you know, I'm going to just make this a learning experience. I'm not going to try to perfect it.
Yeah.
Maybe that would shift us a little bit. I kind of think of it like like a team. I'm a huge sports fan. So I always tell kids, and I tell parents too, if you think of me, not literally like a life coach, but if you think of me as a coach where you come in, we try something, it doesn't work, the play doesn't work, the team intercepts the ball. Okay, well, we go back to the locker room, we shift the play, and we come back. That's life. It's just a constant flow of figuring it out and learning from that mistake, learning from that thing that was hard. I
Hmm.
think also we're really programmed that we want it all to be without discomfort. And so
Mhm.
we rush into fix because it doesn't feel comfortable to us. And so learning to feel a little bit safer and emotionally safe in the discomfort is going to be a real blessing to parents. It's
Mm.
not easy though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a life lesson, right? With
It is.
all of
And
this.
seek out. I mean, seek out a trusted friend, seek out a professional, seek out a pastor that you can really kind of have those hard conversations with of this doesn't feel right to me. This feels really hard.
Mhm. Exactly. And that's one of the conversations I even had today with my daughter is like it takes hard work, to get to a level that you want to be. It's going to take work. It doesn't just happen naturally. And so it's one of those life lessons that we have to continue to help our kids know and to navigate the self-soothing of the discomfort is really important. So
Yeah.
I would love for people to find your book and to connect with you. So where can they find that information?
Yeah, they can go to my website at triciathornton.com. There's even a free download on my website for them to download the first 3 chapters and the intro and the preface. So it's a big chunk. It's all of part one. So they're going to get that silence part for free so they can try it out, listen, kind of think about what they want to go forward. But they can find it on Amazon or on my website, anywhere books are sold. And then also follow Tricia Thornton Therapy on Facebook and Instagram because I post videos almost every week that are really self help parenting videos. They're usually under about 3 to 5 minutes at most. And they give lots of these kind of tips that are really easy to put in place.
Love that. Bite size, take it and
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
apply it. Oh, well, what a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so
Great
much
to
again
talk
for
with
what
you
you
too.
do and your information. I know it will bless others. So thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Hey friends, I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Tricia Thornton. It was very just a reminder that we don't have to be perfect. How many other people are celebrating the fact that we don't have to be perfect? In fact, that's one of my takeaways is the fact that we don't need to pluralize right and wrong. There is about we're growing too. I have never had a freshman in college before. I have never navigated this before. So I am learning, I am growing. I've never had a 15-year-old son before. He had his first dance, by the way, and it was amazing for him. He had so much fun. But did you know that when they get to a certain size, like a man child size, that they have numbers for their pants and shirts? Yeah, that was news to me. My husband's out of town with my other son for soccer, and we're going to Macy's trying to buy clothes. I was like, where's the medium, small, and large? Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So, knowing that we are growing, we are learning, and man, the Lord walks alongside us. How cool is that? So we no longer need to think about is this right or wrong, but how can potentially we do something different next time? How can we grow? And there's something called growth mindset. I love practicing this with my own kiddos. With the school system practices this, but we can practice this as well as parents, knowing that next time can be better. Next time we will learn from this and we can grow and do something different. I love that mentality because it is more of the positive instead of just focusing on the mistakes and the negative. A couple of the other takeaways that I have is relying on God first. I remember, friends, when my kids were little, like babies, and I did not feel like I was getting enough sleep. I didn't feel like I was able to spend enough time with the Lord. I was just surviving at some moments. But what I found is it's not necessary to have a whole hour just dedicated to the Lord of digging in His Word. He started showing me that I could start integrating it throughout the day, whether with praise music in the background or saying a quick prayer or just really meditating on one verse. God meets us in those moments where we are pursuing them. pursuing him. And it's such a beautiful way to come alongside and partner with him while he's teaching us how to do the ministry of parenting, how to do the ministry of marriage. It is just something beautiful when we come alongside the Lord and make our time and our moments with him intentional. Another one that really blew me away, in essence, is the fact we just need to pause. We need to allow silence in our lives. And when we are heightened emotionally, our kids are going to feed off of that. So if your kiddo is having a tantrum, we need to take a step back. We need to breathe. We need to regulate our body, our minds, and our spirits as well. And we need to recognize that we get to set the tone and the environment for our kids. Even when we're heightened, we definitely have more maturity in the way that we can navigate that to help our kids. But taking some of those times of silence actually builds up our tolerance so that we can pause more often in those moments when we are heightened. So recognizing that we need to take care of ourselves, have moments of silence, and in those moments of heightened intensity, when your kiddo is screaming in the back seat or you're having a conflict with your teen, we're able to just take a pause, pray, Jesus, give me the words, and come alongside our kiddos in a really beautiful way. Friends, I just want to thank you so much for listening to the show today. If you have any feedback or you have guests that you would like to hear on the show, I would love to hear from you. My email is pageklingandpeel@gmail.com. We have a lot of exciting interviews coming up, so be sure to tune in again next time for another edition of Embracing Your Season.